Hare Krishna, my dear Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to our Gurudev. Welcome to His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. We are continuing our reading of Canto 1, Chapter 15, which is entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely, and we are now on verse number 31. Yesterday, we heard Srila Prabhupada speak on the previous verse, and before that, we heard Bhuta Bhavana speak on this very instructive verse. So there are many, many points that we need to take away when we hear these transcendental topics. So I humbly request for your merciful blessings and for your indulgence so that I may do justice to this service that has been given to me today. I will be hosting as well as speaking because there isn't anyone else to do it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet. Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So I hope everyone can see the verse. I'm going to read it. Vishoka Brahma Sampatya Sanchinna Dvaita Samshayaha Lina Prakriti Nirgunyad Alingatvad Asambhavaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Because of his possessing spiritual assets, the doubts of duality were completely cut off. Thus, he was freed from the three modes of material nature and placed in transcendence. There was no longer any chance of his becoming entangled in birth and death, for he was freed from material form. Purport. Doubts of duality begin from the misconception of the material body, which is accepted as the self by less intelligent persons. The most foolish part of our ignorance is our identifying this material body with the self. Everything in relation with the body is ignorantly accepted as our own. Doubts due to misconceptions of myself and mine, in other words, my body, my relatives, my property, my wife, my children, my wealth, my country, my community, and hundreds and thousands of similar illusory contemplations cause bewilderment for the conditioned soul. By assimilating the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, one is sure to be released from such bewilderment, because real knowledge is knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, is everything, including oneself. Everything is a manifestation of his potency as part and parcel. The potency and the potent are non-different. So the conception of duality is at once mitigated by attainment of perfect knowledge. As soon as Arjuna took up the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, expert as he was, he could at once eradicate the material conception of Lord Krishna, his eternal friend. He could realize that the Lord was still present before him by his instruction, by his form, by his pastimes, by his qualities, and everything else related to him. He could realize that Lord Krishna, his friend, was still present before him by his transcendental presence in different non-dual energies. And there was no question of attainment of the association of the Lord by another change of body under the influence of time and space. By attainment of absolute knowledge, one can be in association with the Lord constantly, even in this present life, simply by hearing, chanting, thinking of, and worshipping the Supreme Lord. One can see him, one can feel his presence, even in this present life, simply by understanding the Advaya Jnana Lord, or the Absolute Lord, through the process of devotional service, which begins with hearing about him. Lord Chaitanya says that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can at once wash off the dust on the mirror of pure consciousness. And as soon as the dust is removed, one is at once freed from all material conditions. To become free from material conditions means to liberate the soul. As soon as one is therefore situated in absolute knowledge, his material conception of life is removed, or he emerges from a false conception of life. Thus, the function of the pure soul is revived in spiritual realization. Excuse me. I've got a bit of a sore throat. This practical realization of the living being is made possible due to his becoming free from the reaction of the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. By the grace of the Lord, a pure devotee is at once raised to the place of the absolute, and there is no chance of the devotees becoming materially entangled again in conditioned life. One is not able to feel the presence of the Lord in all circumstances until one is endowed with the required transcendental vision made possible by devotional service prescribed in the revealed scriptures. Arjun had attained this stage long before on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And when he apparently felt the absence of the Lord, he at once took shelter of the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita. And thus again he was placed in his original position. This is the position of Vishog, or the stage of being freed from all grief and anxieties. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजना सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितम हे कृष्ण करुणा ताप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते नमः ओम विष्णु पादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नीति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Now, whom are we talking about over here? Because of his possessing spiritual assets. Who is this person? This is Arjun. Arjun has just come back from visiting Dwaraka, and Krishna has left the planet. And he has to convey this news to Yudhishthir. So he himself is so overcome just thinking about Krishna leaving that tears are gliding down his cheeks, and he's recalling how many times Krishna saved him, saved his family, saved the situation. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna was right there with him, facing so many dangers, giving him such unprecedented powers to conquer over apparently unconquerable enemies. And they were very formidable. Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Shalya, Jayadratha, Duryodhan himself, Dushashan, and all the 100 sons of the Dhritarashtra. They were all very, very powerful warriors. And also the army was very huge as compared to Arjun's army, which was quite small. So he's recalling all those things, and he's remembering with deep gratitude how Krishna saved the situation again and again. So now that he has to convey the sad tidings of Krishna leaving the planet, he just is unable to bring himself to tell Yudhishthir what happened, how Krishna has left the planet, which Yudhishthir is already suspecting because he sees a lot of inauspicious omens. And he asked Arjun directly, so has Krishna left the planet? So as he's speaking, he's feeling deep separation from Krishna and he becomes overcome by grief. Hmm? But now, remembering that wonderful dialogue, which is the Bhagavad Gita, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, as we saw in the previous two verses, all the trash in his mind subsided. That's the description in the translation. All the trash in his mind subsided because he again remembered the beautiful form of the Lord, his instructions, his words, his wonderful qualities, his pastimes, his relationship with Arjun, everything he remembered. And the moment we remember Krishna, because Krishna is like the sun, all the darkness is dispelled. It's like we walk into a room which is completely dark. But the moment we put on the light switch, light, the whole thing is lighted up and we can see everything clearly. Similarly, when we think of Krishna within the heart, immediately all the darkness of ignorance is dispelled because we understand we are part and parcel of Krishna. We are eternal spirit soul. We have nothing to do with this material energy. I am not this body. I'm eternal spirit soul. And I have the same quality of Krishna, but in a very minute measure, very tiny measure. I'm just a drop. Krishna is the ocean. But there is no difference. I am also eternal. I am also blissful. I am also full of knowledge, but in a very small quantity. So when we think of my body, my house, my wife, my children, my bank balance, my car, my plane, my boats, my, all this, it's all Maya. As Guru Maharaj said, this is all Maya. She entraps us with all this allurement, making us think, oh, I have so much. I have so many things. I have so many people. I am the master of everything. But moment of death comes, everything finishes, and we are forced to take up another body according to our activities in this body with no guarantee where we will be, who will be our next family, how much wealth I will have, what kind of looks I will have. There's no guarantee. It all depends on our activities in this life. So we could even sink down to the lower forms of life. We may not get the human form of life. However, that is not true of a devotee. One who engages in devotional service to the Lord is guaranteed a human form of life in the next life, at the very least. And he actually is placed in a family of either rich aristocracy or great transcendentalists to pick up from where he left off in the previous life. But everyone else, mixed bag. If they've done some pious activities, they will get something to enjoy. But if they've done impious activities, they will suffer. And there is no way to escape that karma. No way. Because it's being recorded, it's being written down. So this world is going on with these misconception of I and mine, just fixated on the bodily concept of life. That is why we are having so many problems. All these wars and terrorism and food shortages and crises of one kind. It's all based on the bodily concept of life, where each is trying to lord it over another, forgetting that there is only one Lord, Krishna. He is the only enjoyer. He is the only proprietor. He is the only controller. And we are part and parcel of Krishna. We also belong to Krishna. We are inseparable from Krishna because we are tiny part and parcels of Krishna. Therefore, our only dharma or only job, as we would, it's not the right word, but our only activity is a better word, is service to the Lord. Service to the Lord. Seva. So therefore, the soul has only one thing to do. Serve the Lord. But we are bewildered by the material energy and we get caught up in the dualities unless and until we receive the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotee, which we all have been so fortunate to receive. And therefore, we have begun the journey back home, back to Godhead. So this verse is very nice. And this particular sentence, which I'm going to highlight, is very, very important. By assimilating the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, one is sure to be released from such bewilderment. See how strong the words Prabhupada is using. Because real knowledge is knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev, is everything. And this includes oneself because we belong to Krishna. And who knows this? One who comes to this knowledge after many births of pious activities. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavam mam prapadyante vasudeva sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births, one who is actually in knowledge of me, who knows that I am the source of everything and all that be surrenders unto me. Such a great soul is very rare. I'm not using the exact words. I think I've paraphrased it. Let's go to that particular verse. It's Bhagavad Gita 7:19. I'll pull it up for you so we get the exact translation. Nice to hear the exact translation. This verse was quoted very often by Srila Prabhupada, who said that devotee must understand this verse well. Let's go to, here we go. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. And see here, the living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. So it may have taken us many lifetimes to reach this point. But here we are. We are so lucky that we receive the mercy of Prabhupada and we can actually engage in the process of devotional service by his mercy, by his giving us our spiritual master. So the pure devotees of the Lord are situated in transcendence. They are no longer subjected to the three modes of material nature like we are. We are like puppets on a string. Sometimes we are in the mode of goodness. Many times we are in the mode of passion. And many times we are in the mode of ignorance. So all three are going on all the time. But the souls who are pure, completely free of these modes of nature, they are situated in transcendence, above the modes of nature. They see everything very clearly. And because they are free, they can free us. One who is bound hand and foot by ropes, he cannot free us. So therefore, the importance of the pure devotee spiritual master. So, as soon as Arjun took up the instructions, he immediately could eradicate the material conception of Lord Krishna, wherein he was feeling physical separation from him, saying, oh, I've lost my friend, he has gone, he has left us. Not true. Because Krishna is the absolute truth, he continues to be present in so many ways. Through the Bhagavad Gita, through the Srimad Bhagavatam, through his pure devotees, through the spiritual master. All the Vedic literatures are meant to know Krishna. Vedaischa sarvai aham eva vedyaha vedantakrit vedavid eva chaham. Before that, what is that? Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. Vedaischa sarvai aham eva vedyaha vedantakrit vedavid eva chaham. What is the meaning of that? It's a very famous verse. It is 15:50. We will go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15. in which Krishna explains, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So Krishna is saying where he is in everyone's heart. And if you want to forget Krishna, he will give you all the means to forget him. If you want to remember Krishna, Krishna will give you all help to remember him, as well as gain knowledge of him. So all the Vedas, all the Vedic scriptures are meant to give knowledge of Krishna. Vedaischa sarvai aham eva vedyaha vedantakrit vedavid eva chaham, like this. It's with security. Yeah. Thank you, Manoj. Hare Krishna. Excuse me for that. So Vedantakrit Vedavid Eva Chaham. So Vedantas, what are all these scriptural studies for? To know Krishna, to understand what Krishna wants, and then to serve Krishna. Srila Prabhupada would say, to know Krishna is to love Krishna. To love Krishna means to serve Krishna. So, through this purport, we can understand that Krishna is in our heart. And he says he is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated on the material energy as if on a machine. That is there in the 18th chapter. Yantra Ruda Nimayaya. So let's go back to this verse so that we don't lose focus. So he could realize that Krishna was there. Now, why is this very important for us also to understand? Because sometimes we may think, what will we do when the spiritual master leaves the planet? Because that day will come. Someday, we hope in the far, far future, that day will come when our spiritual master will leave and go to another place where Srila Prabhupada wants preaching to be done. And then we will think, oh, my spiritual master has left. What shall I do now? How will I survive? But that's when we must understand the instructions of the spiritual master are non-different from him. His words are non-different from him. His picture is non-different from him. In taking shelter of the association of devotees, of our God brothers and God sisters, of the instructions our Guru has given us, will keep us packed up together. We don't have to feel separation. Though, of course, we will feel separation, but simply by following rigidly our vows and following the instructions given to us by our spiritual master, we will not feel any separation, because on the spiritual platform, we will be together. See here, even Arjun realized that. He could realize that Lord Krishna, his friend, was still present before him by his transcendental presence in different energies. And there was no question of attainment of the association of the Lord by another change of body. It means that he didn't have to die and again change the body and again search for Krishna. No. Simply by situating himself in pure and perfect knowledge of Krishna, he was with Krishna. And see how simple Lord Chaitanya has made it. He says, you want to remember Krishna? Chant his holy name. Simply by chanting the holy name at once, we can be in touch with Krishna. Because Krishna and his name are non-different. The moment we say Krishna, there's Krishna. We must have that realization slowly, slowly, by perfecting our chanting. But Lord Chaitanya is making it very clear. You want to revive your consciousness? Chant the holy name of the Lord. And as soon as the dust is removed, you will be free from all material contamination, and you will have practical realization of Krishna, because now you will be situated in transcendence above the three modes of material nature. And this is a fact. This is not some wishful thinking or a utopian ideal. It can happen by the grace of the Lord, by our sincere efforts, by our sincere endeavor, and our sincere desire. We can be free. We can be free of the material energy. Yes. And we can come back to our original state. Let me share this verse with you, because You don't have to take my word for it. We can hear what Srila Prabhupada says. He says that even in this material body, you can taste spiritual nectar. You can be in the spiritual world even while you are in this material body by transcending the three modes of material nature. And how does one do that? By engaging in pure devotional service to the Lord. See over here. Gunan etan atityatrin dehi deha samudbhavan janma mrityu jara dukhair vimukto amritam ashnute. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, disease, death, old age, and all their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. See how beautiful this process is and how it is saving us from a miserable old age. Believe me, the people who don't know Krishna, they are suffering without knowledge of Krishna. But we are so lucky we can revive a full Krishna consciousness. And no matter what is happening with our mind, with our body, we may be falling apart, we may be having so many, old age comes with so many problems. But because we have revived our Krishna consciousness, we can be enjoying nectar. So I'll read this purport. It's very short, but it's beautiful. How one can stay in the transcendental position even in this body, in full Krishna consciousness, is explained in this verse. The Sanskrit word dehi means embodied. Although one is within this material body, by his advancement in spiritual knowledge, he can be free from the influence of the modes of nature. He can enjoy the happiness of spiritual life even in this body, because after leaving this body, he is certainly going to the spiritual sky. But even in this body, he can enjoy spiritual happiness. In other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the sign of liberation from material entanglement. And this will be explained in the 18th chapter. When one is freed from the influence of the modes of material nature, he enters into devotional service. For this was the state that Arjuna attained. He became free from all hankering and lamentation because he reconnected on the transcendental platform with Krishna. See here. By the grace of the Lord, a pure devotee is at once raised to the place of the absolute, and there is no chance of the devotees becoming materially entangled again in conditioned life. In such a situation, what happens? You don't have any more hankering. You don't have any more lamentation. Oh, my children, they don't come to see me. Oh, I lost that opportunity to buy that house. Oh, how I wish I got that degree. I would have been in a better job. I mean, all these are lamentations and hankerings on the material platform. But when we raise ourselves to the transcendental platform, all these things will fall away and we will be free. We will be free of the three modes of material nature and we will come to a pure state which is totally blissful, full of knowledge and eternal. Yes, it's possible by the mercy of the Lord. And this is the state we want to attain. Why not? This is our birthright. It's a spiritual birthright and it is available only in the human form of life. A cat, a dog, a tree, a bird, a reptile, an insect, a whale, a fish. They cannot do this because they're covered over. Though they also have pure love of God. It is dormant in the heart. But because their consciousness is so low, it is very difficult to revive that consciousness. Though we have examples in the scriptures of how some animals, they come to hear Srimad Bhagavatam class or they start dancing in the kirtan. Indradumna Maharaj says, where they were doing Harinam on the beach, a school of dolphins was just following them all along, hearing the holy name. So, of course, every soul has a natural attraction for Krishna, but it is in the human form of life that we can revive it. I'm trying to remember that verse. न सोचती न कां ब्रह्मभूत प्रसन्नात्मा न सोचती न कांचती समा सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद भक्तिम लभते पराम. one who is thus transcendently situated, here we go, 1854, at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So this was the state that Arjun also attained. He became free from lamentation, all grief, all anxiety by remembering the instructions of the Lord. See, it is said over here. When he apparently felt the absence of the Lord, he at once took shelter of the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. And what is that instruction that the Lord gave? He gave many instructions to Arjuna in the end, in the 18th chapter. And I'm just going to read out the translations because they're so important. Okay, here we go. Verse number 64. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. And then this most famous and final instruction, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Haribo. So wonderful it will be the day when we finally become free. My dear spirit souls, we can have that freedom. We can have that freedom. It is possible simply by following this process of Bhakti Yoga, simply by following the orders of the spiritual master. We are disentangling ourselves from the ropes of material energy, and we are being situated in our original constitutional, pure, blissful, spiritual position of loving service to Krishna with nothing else in between. Haribol! So you see what is awaiting us? It's a wonderful life. And we can have that even while in this material body. By following this process, we can begin to taste spiritual nectar. And we can be rising above the modes of material nature. We can be free. We can be free. And things of this world will not affect us so much. So we must all strive for that position. I'm really preaching to myself here. I'm preaching to myself here. And take advantage of this wonderful process of Bhakti Yoga and go back home, back to Godhead, where Krishna is waiting for us to join him, singing, dancing, playing, doing mischief, doing so many wonderful pastimes. So that world is awaiting us. Thank you so much for listening patiently. Hare Krishna. So we will now open up comments, questions, corrections, criticisms, whatever you like. It would be nice to see all of you, if possible. So, Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, my humble obeisances to you. Has your lovely wife come back home?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Couple of more hours, Mataji.
Okay, almost there. India's loss is USA's gain now.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So any questions, Balaji Prabhu? My humble obeisances, my dear godbrother. All glories to Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Nanavad Pranam. Very nice lecture, Mataji.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments? Or realizations?
No, Mataji. Thank you.
No problem. So we also have Krishna Chaitanya and Balaji, of course, are here. Vishwa Pavani, Sonal. We have Bharati's iPhone. I don't know who that is. Scarlett Mataji, Saiteja, and Namrata. Anybody, please feel free to ask questions. It's perfectly all right. It doesn't mean that only Maharaj's disciples have to ask questions. Anyone on the call is welcome to ask questions. Okay, looks like everything was very clear and everybody's in bliss. Huh? We have no questions. That's all right. We can end the call if there is no further discussion. Okay, Namrata says, this is a nice verse, which helped me realize separation that I used to face with my spiritual master a couple of weeks before. It was your mind playing. Yes, that's true. Mind will present so many things, you know. The body and mind are completely extraneous to the soul. It is just a anomaly, actually. We have put on this bulky, useless material covering on our soul, which is a cause of so many problems. And this body and mind and all these things are all material. One is gross, Panchabhuta, made up of 5 material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then you have the subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence, false ego, but it's still material. Only when we peel off all this or purify all this and come to our spiritual body, spiritual mind and intelligence, then we are free. So you're actually making your spiritual body by engaging in the process of bhakti. You're gradually purifying the mind, the intelligence, the material body, and spiritualizing everything, so that finally the day will come when we just discard all this and go back home in our spiritual body. Thank you for coming, Sonal. Thank you, Namrata. Okay, if there are no questions, no comments, may I know who is Bharati's iPhone? I don't believe I know who that is. Can you share a little bit who you are? I know Sonal is from the UK. I know Saiteja is also in the UK, I believe. Okay. All right.
I'm from India, Mataji.
Huh?
I'm from India only.
Acha, where in India?
It's Vijayawada.
Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh.
Yes, Mataji.
Very nice. How did you get to know about our daily classes? Srimati?
Yes, Mataji. Like I was following on YouTube for some time, and I'm not able to get into this call, so I looked into this FB page, Facebook, and I found the link.
On the link. Oh,
Yeah.
very, very happy that you're here. And since you're from Andhra, Srimati, one of our god sisters, she does a Telugu conference call with daily classes on Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay.
So you might like to connect with that also.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Okay. What I'll do is I will give you her number on WhatsApp, and then you can just write to her and saying, I would also like to attend the Telugu conference calls for Srimad Bhagavatam. That will also be very helpful for you. Let me just give you her number. WhatsApp. Somebody is talking. Can you just mute that, please? Okay, it's +1. I'll type it also. 703 389 0005. Okay, this is her WhatsApp number, and she is the person who organizes the Telugu conference calls.
Fine,
So you
Mataji.
can connect with her.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
that's her WhatsApp. Better put this on because this is my badge here, To be in the hospital, you have to have some IDs. So just fix that. Okay, if there's no other questions, no other comments, we can end the call here. No problem. Thank you all so very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai
Jai. Jai. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. See you all tomorrow.
Very good.
Hare.
Hare Krishna Mataji.